everybody, hi gang. I hope that you guys are doing well. There is currently a heat wave in London, hence the swimming costume. There are roadworks happening outside my house. My voice is at the football match that I hosted yesterday, and hay fever is kicking me right in my nose. But you are here for true crime, not my life story. This is not a vlog series. So let's do it. If you like my content, actually, please subscribe. Please tell your friends to tell their friends, because me, I have a job. I am employed, but I do this on the side. This is my hobby, it's my hustle, and love is love, and it's always appreciated. Anyway, I'm Yinka Bokinni. Welcome to the anniversary. Shwa-na-na-na, 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 shwa-na-na-na. Today I'm taking you back to June 7th, 1992, 29 years ago, and introducing you to Sharon Louise Carr. On this day, the one in question, Sharon was just 12 years old, and she would do something that would mark her name down in the history books. It prompted a huge outcry, and until now, this question has never been answered. Are kids who kill a product of their environment, or are they just born that way? Yes, because Sharon Carr, at the age of just 12 years old, murdered someone, and she would become the youngest female murderer in the United Kingdom to be sentenced. The crime took place in Surrey in England, and Sharon received a life sentence. She is still in prison to this day. But we're going to begin with Katie Ratcliffe, who was 18 at the time. It was a chance meeting with her and Sharon that would see her dead, with approximately 30 stab wounds to her body. Detectives would later describe the scene as a Jack the Ripper style attack. There were a mix of stab and slash wounds, some were deep, some were superficial. So it seemed like, yeah, the person who attacked her wanted to kill her, but they also wanted to take their time, that they were enjoying it. Her face, her shoulders, they were severely damaged, as well as her breasts. Katie was found naked with her genitalia mutilated, and the crime seemed to be sexual in nature. Some of the injuries were even inflicted after Katie had died, and the police thought for 2 whole years they were looking for a fully grown man, not a child. Katie was a trainee hairdresser, she was popular, she had a very normal life. She wanted to own her own salon, her friends said that she was cool, her parents said that she was blessed, and she had split up with her boyfriend in the weeks before she had died. She was super upset, she didn't want to leave the house, and she was in heartbreak mode. I picture it as Legally Blonde after Warren dumped Elle, and that's the reason why she was out that night. Her friends had dragged her, and Katie went to a nightclub. She was there with her mates, and about 4 AM when the club ended, she had lost her friends, they'd been separated, so she started making her way home, we think. But it was 5 hours later that her body was found on a side street about 3 miles from the nightclub that she had been the night before. A criminal profile was made of the suspect. There wasn't anything initially that the police could go on. And of course, we're dealing with a case in the early 90s, so technology just isn't what it is today. So with the criminal profile, it gave the investigators something to work with, like bio, if you will. And the police believed that the killer was a male, that he was in his 30s. They focused on the nightclub Ragamuffins where Katie had been, thinking maybe she had met someone inside there, or maybe she had met someone out, and the theory is that maybe somebody had taken her from the nightclub. They thought that the person who had killed her was somebody who either worked in construction or went to the gym a lot, because you had to be physically strong to move her body and also inflict the kind of injuries that Katie had. There really weren't many leads in the case, and even though it was an open investigation, it remained unsolved for 2 years. And it was 2 years exactly to the day later, on June the 7th, 1994, that a very similar crime happened in the same area. The police got a 999 call from students at a school called Collingwood College, and their classmate Sharon Carr had stabbed Anne-Marie Clifford after luring her into the toilets at school. It was a singular stab wound in her back, and it was made with a 4-inch blade that actually pierced her lung. Anne-Marie, though, she survived the attack, and she told police that Sharon had lured her into the toilet under the pretense of helping her find money, a £1 coin, which in the 90s definitely 100% would have got you a Panda Pop, a Freddo, some Space Invaders with change. But like, find your own pound, Sharon. Me personally, I'm not going in the toilet to find anyone a pound, but the students did say that everyone at the school, including the teachers, were scared of Sharon, because even though she was only 14 years old at the time of this attack on Anne-Marie, she was known to be violent, she was a bully. Sharon was at first taken to a psychiatric unit for evaluation. When the police and ambulance first got to the school, they didn't take her to the police station, they took her to a hospital. But when she was there, she was on one, she was still very much in the mode of wanting to stab Anne-Marie. She attacked the staff, she strangled one, and after that they thought, you know what, we've had enough, and they arrested her and took her to a young offenders institute. She would end up staying at the young offenders institute because she was sentenced, found guilty for the attack on Anne-Marie. Sharon, a little bit of a backstory, was born in December of 1979 in Central America in Belize. She didn't have the easiest upbringing. She was really poor. Her dad was a violent alcoholic. Her mum was a violent woman as well. I read that she didn't grow up in a loving house. She would be burnt as punishment. Her mum would put pepper, like raw, like Scotch bonnet pepper, pepe, on her genitals, like to punish her and stuff. And eventually Sharon and her mum moved to England with a man that her mum was going to remarry. She fell in love with, and Sharon like settled in well at first, but it wasn't to last because she began getting violent in class and in the area pretty quickly. She met some people in the estate in Surrey where she was living, and as the story goes, the streets got her. Sharon began smoking weed daily at the age of 11. She was participating in petty crimes like burglaries. She'd carry weapons, and the people that she used to hang out with, the kids that she would rock around with, were all a lot older than her. She'd witnessed her mum being violent her whole life, and even when they were in England, the Englishman wanted to leave her mum, and then her mum poured a boiling pot of oil over his head, and Sharon just stood there and watched it happen. She would steal neighbours' pets and she would sacrifice them. She decapitated, I can't even say the word, she decapitated a dog. What if, she just sounds really scary. Like, you don't want to call the police, but you're shook of somebody who hasn't even got an NI number. Anyway, Sharon is in the Young Offenders Institute in 1994. She was doing her time, and that's when she starts to act a little bit silly because she couldn't help herself, and she started boasting about what she had done before and the crimes that she was super duper proud of. She told prisoners, she told prison guards, anyone who would listen really, a bit too much. They put two and two together and they thought, wow, she's responsible for the murder of Katie Racliffe. So she was brought in officially for a police interview. And when I say Sharon sang a tune, she confessed for hours. There were 27 hours of interviews, and Sharon got deep and dirty with the detail of the story, details that the public didn't know. She had told them stuff like she stole a bracelet from Katie and nobody knew that apart from the police. But all in all, she told 3 versions of events, and there is one that the police believe is the most likely. She was out on the night in question in 1992 with 2 male friends, 2 male adult friends. Okay. They're driving around at 4 a.m. with a 12-year-old in their car. Okay. And a drunk Katie was lured over by Sharon with suggestions, with promises of a lift home. She accepted, and they drove around for a bit before luring Katie to a deserted park. Katie got scared, of course she did, and she managed to escape and run away. And that's when Sharon grabbed a 6-inch knife from the car and chased after her. She killed Katie, she began stabbing her, and when she was dead, the mutilations began. After Katie was dead, she went back to find her 2 older male friends, realising that she had to get rid of Katie's body and she had to hide it, but she wasn't strong enough to carry it. But when she went back to the place that the car was supposed to be, they had scurred and they had left a 12-year-old Sharon with no wingmen. So she dragged Katie's body into an alleyway, she left her there, and she ran all the way home. The men actually in this story were tracked down and they were questioned, but they became each other's alibis. During a police search, Sharon's diary was found because she was 12 and she kept one, and in it she had written more detail about the murder. She wrote about how proud she was, how much she enjoyed it, how killing turned her on. She wrote about seeing the devil, and that's when the press gave her the moniker the devil's daughter. Doctors, and there were loads of them, psychiatrists, psychologists, they struggled to diagnose Sharon, but eventually she was diagnosed with a schizoaffective disorder, but she was fit to stand trial. Now, a few weeks before the trial was due to begin, she actually retracted her confession, but it didn't make much of a difference for prosecution, and it went ahead with Sharon pleading not guilty. In March of 1997, she was found guilty and she was sentenced to 14 years in prison, her minimum, and she was a violent inmate. She was transferred a lot, eventually ended up at Broadmoor Hospital before it became an all-male facility, and she almost got married there as well. Killers, yeah, they stay bayed up. Her and her fiance, they eventually broke up, and I can't really get into the story because we're running out of time, yeah. But basically, there was a story in the newspaper, and they wanted to read the newspaper, and then when they read it, they were both disgusted by each other's crimes, and then they got the ick. It's ridiculous. But my time is finished, and she's still in hospital, she's still in jail, and I don't think Sharon Carr is ever going to be released, to be honest. And there you have it, 10 minutes of this bust down voice. And you know what, because I was just trying to bang this out and get it done, because of these men outside my window making so much noise, I didn't actually get myself any water, so it's really sore. Hopefully you feel sorry for me. You probably don't. It's fine. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this wasn't too much of a distraction, and I hope that you enjoyed that story. Of course, I want to know what you think, so please leave a comment, let me know, and make sure you subscribe and like and all that sort of stuff if you like my content and what I do here on YouTube. I'll see you next week for another true crime video, of course, on Sunday. This one's a little bit late if you're watching it on day release. I know it's Monday. Like I said, I'm employed and I had such a busy weekend. I just couldn't get it done. But thank you for watching. Over and out, and I will see you guys later.